Thank you very much. I'm thrilled to be here. I think Chicago League Ideas Week is a remarkably terrific idea, and I'm just excited to be part of it. And before I get to my talk, I would like to say to the people who are trying to figure out how to decouch fans and get them into the arenas and stadiums, that if they thought about people like me who are too short to see anything, they might have an influx of a new group willing to come to the games. My subject is the NCAA. It is a punching bag for anybody with any gripe anywhere at any time. There's a host of lawsuits right now, a lot of them being brought by football and men's basketball players and former players. There's the union effort by some of the football players at Northwestern. There are issues of rules violations and whether the NCAA handles those fairly. There are behavioral issues of players. The NCAA has never been the popular kid on the block. It's just gotten worse over the last few years. The most recent cases are Todd Gurley, the Heisman candidate at Georgia, who's now been suspended for allegedly signing a number of autographs for an autograph dealer and taking money for it, and Jameis Winston, who I think is going to be my poster child for behavioral issues all over the spectrum, who the New York Times just this past week has taken another look at the rape allegation, and the allegations are that the university, the athletics department, the campus police, the city police, all at least tried to delay that investigation, if not actively impede it. The NCAA has been described recently as, quote, long ago exposed as an archaic, dishonest, and generally useless organization. The only two organizations I can think of that get the same or worse press are the mafia and the United States Congress. So here we are. There's no question that college athletics is a business, certainly if we mean that the NCAA and individual schools try to make money and try to cover expenses. But it's a very different business from professional sports. If you think about Major League Baseball, which has the most games and the most players, it's 30 teams, 162 games a year, 1,200 baseball players total, 2,500 games annually total, and the only game they play is baseball. The NCAA has 460,000 student athletes. It's got 3 divisions. Its Division I is the division from which the schools that play in the men's basketball tournament come. Its subdivision of Division I, the Football Bowl subdivision, or FBS, has about 125 or 130 schools, and these are the schools that play or will be playing in the football championship coming up. Division I has 340 schools, 18,000 teams, 170,000 athletes, 42 different sports, and 10,000 competitions. There may be a difference in resources with the New York Yankees, at least when George Steinbrenner was alive, and Billy Beane's Oakland Athletics. But the difference in resources, and not just resources, demographics, academic mission, profiles of the schools, is extraordinarily broader when we're talking about college athletics. We have in Division I, Ohio State, which is a land-grant PhD awarding institution with 52,000 students, law and medical schools and a huge endowment, and Wofford College with 14 undergraduates and no graduate or professional programs. And Presbyterian College, which has a campus operating budget of $50 million, and the University of Texas at Austin with an athletics budget of $180 million and its own TV network. And the revenue gap is only going to get greater with the football championship, the playoff coming up. It is reported that the major conferences, that would be the SEC, Big Ten, Big 12, ACC, and Pac-12, are going to derive $50 million annually from revenues from the ESPN broadcast contract. So yes, there's money coming in. And yes, some of the money is spent in ways that none of us could condone or endorse, and certainly not anybody who's a faculty member on a campus. But it's a business in an odd sense. There are only two pieces of the business that make any money, and that's football and to some extent men's basketball. And as a business enterprise in total, there are only 7 or 8 big college programs, the 125 or 130 in the FBS. There are only 7 or 8 that make any money without a campus subsidy. And there are only 15 or 20 that operate in the black with a campus subsidy. And the campus subsidies we're talking about can be as much as $28 million a year, which is what Rutgers currently gets. And that's at a time when departments are being eliminated, sections of courses are being cut, faculty positions are not being filled. So, college sports is certainly a business in some sense, but if it was operated only as a business, it would be out of business by this point, or at least it would be dramatically downsized. So it's not like other businesses, but it's also not like amateur sports either. It's not a pickup game, it's not a sandlot game. A lot of money is coming in. Athletics on campus provide great value to student athletes. They're also great value to the campus. They unify a campus, a community. They're fun to go watch, if I say again, if you can see. They're fun to go watch. They unify the fan base. They connect alumni back to the campus. In schools in the Midwest and places that would not be nationally known in bigger markets, college athletics is the face of the university that introduces people everywhere to the fact of the university. But they're not equal. Whatever the value of college athletics is, it is not equal to the value of a college education. And it doesn't substitute for what should be the prime mission of a university. And that's despite what you would think you knew if all you listened to was talk radio and all you read was media reports about what college is about. They seem to think, at least from what they write and say, that the only thing that goes on a campus and the only thing that should matter is whether the football team is competitive and how you manage to do it. It is certainly true, the old adage, at least in part, that who pays the piper calls the tune. And we can tell that immediately from the fact that most of the revenues that come into college programs come from the broadcast contracts. And so we now have Wednesday night games and Thursday night games and Friday night games and games on Saturday at any point in the day that you can think of from 9 in the morning until 10 at night. So do we think that this is the right direction? Should we say we've got football and men's basketball, we don't need any other college sports, we'll cut them all out except to the extent that gender equity requirements mean you've got to carry at least the same number of women's athletic opportunities? Or do we think it is time to recalibrate? Not recalibrate back to what college athletics might have been in 1880, because nobody in this world is doing what occurred in 1880, and our campuses are commercial these days. The University of Nebraska is a Pepsi campus. I'm not talking about the athletics department, it's the university. And with less and less public support for higher education, tuition is going up. There's got to be a limit to what students are able to pay in tuition and how much debt they can carry. And athletics is a part of that. But are we at the right place? Is it the rabid fans? Is it the national sports media? Is it the big donors who are willing to pay anything to get a winning team and then think they should have a hand in hiring the next coach? Are those the only speakers who want to talk about what college athletics should look like on a college campus in 2014? Certainly, many, if not most, of the alumni at our major universities would answer no. And certainly the faculty on our campuses would answer no. And I believe that that would be the answer from most people looking at what's happening in college athletics. And the question is, how do we get back to a place that is a reasonable picture of what college athletics should be like on a college campus? And there are 4 aspects to this. Where does the money come from? We do it a little on campus. We wouldn't take, I hope, Playmate as a corporate sponsor on any of our campuses, but we need to think harder about where we get the money. We need to look at where we spend the money. We spend a lot of it on college, on scholarships, and on running championships. The NCAA spends $74 million to run 90 championships. All but 5 or 6 don't make any money. The Big Ten conference schools spend $200 million on scholarships every year. We also spend it on coach salaries and on facilities that are involved in an arms race. We need to think about who decides how the money is spent and whether we are in the right place in terms of treating student athletes and expecting them to act the way other students on campus are and are treated. Benjamin Franklin, 200 years ago, writing about the colonies when we were fighting the War of Independence, famously said, "We must all hang together, or most assuredly, we'll all hang separately." But he never ran into the antitrust laws. A lot of what college athletics would like to be able to do to try to rein in things, the antitrust laws don't make easy if they make them possible at all. And it's virtually impossible for a college president in any major college with a major football program to act unilaterally to stand down, because of the external pressures and reactions, and the fact that if you stand down unilaterally and spending money relates at all, your teams aren't going to win. And so the question that I think we're left with is, what can we do to recalibrate this model? Do we care, or do we want to rein in the chase for money no matter where it is? Do we care, or do we want to rein in the rampant commercialization back to something that better reflects a campus ethos and a campus environment? Do we care, or do we want to stop subsidies running from the academic side of the campus to prop up the athletic side? Do we care, or do we want to cut all men's non-revenue sports in order to maintain football and men's basketball where they are now? Do we care? Do we think that a university is more than its athletics programs? And that's the question I leave you with. Thank you.